Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to video number 8 in the American Home Brewer instructional video series. This one's entitled Proper Bottling Procedures. This video will explain in some detail the steps required to effectively prime and bottle your beer and take you through a complete bottling session. Today we're going to bottle a 2.5 gallon batch of Castle Rock Brown Ale. It's similar in style to Newcastle and one of our favorites here at the American Home Brewer. It's important to note that if you don't have all the tools required to bottle your beer at this point, you should probably wait until you do. You don't want anything to prevent you from getting your beer into bottles as soon as possible because contamination is still an issue. So gather up all your tools and lay them out on the counter just to make sure you've got everything you need. We're going to go through them one by one. First, you're going to need your bottling bucket. That came with your fermentation kit. You'll also need your siphon syringe, the clear tubing, a bottle of iota for sanitizer, your racking cane, bucket clip, sediment tip, the proper number of beer bottles, which is about 24 for a 2.5 gallon batch and about 48 for a 5 gallon batch, your bottle capper, bottle brush, some bottle caps, plastic clean detergent, a stirring spoon, and finally the correct amount of dextrose or priming sugar. As far as kitchen supplies go, all you'll need here is a small saucepan for boiling a cup or two of water. Now, the first thing we're going to do is fill our bottling bucket up with 2 gallons of warm tap water. Make sure the spigot is in the off position, that's to the right. Once the bucket is filled with water, go ahead and add a cap full of plastic clean or whatever detergent you're using. Now, take 3 or 4 bottles and dunk them in the solution. Let them fill up. Use your bottle brush to give them a good brushing, then drain the solution back into the bucket. Now run a little clean tap water into the bottles, drain them, and then stand them upside down in your dish rack. Once you've given the bottles a nice cleaning, pour out all the solution and make sure there's no more soap in the bottling bucket. You may need to rinse it out a couple of times. Now you're going to refill the bottling bucket again, this time with 3 gallons of clean tap water. Once filled, add a capful of your iota for sanitizer and stir until the water is a light amber color. Now take each bottle and dunk it in your sanitizer until it fills with the solution. Once it's filled up, allow the bottle to sit in the solution for a few minutes. You can feasibly get about 8 to 10 bottles in the bucket at a time, so after a couple of minutes, drain the bottles you have in the bucket and reload with some more. It's a good idea to stand the sanitized bottles upside down in a dish rack or place them in a bottle tree like this one. Next, locate your clear tubing, measure 6 inches off one end, and cut those 6 inches off with some scissors or a knife. Now, if you have a bottle filler, you won't need to do this, but we find that bottle fillers are messy and a pain to deal with, so we like filling our bottles this way. Okay, it's time to sanitize all the tools that will come into contact with your beer. So grab your siphon syringe and separate the housing from the plunger. Grab both pieces of clear tubing, your racking cane, sediment tip, and the bottle caps, and toss them all into your sanitizing solution. Now, while your tools are getting sanitized, it's time to locate a small saucepan. You're going to fill that saucepan with 2 to 3 cups of tap water and bring that tap water to a rolling boil. Once boiling, shut off the heat and pour in your bag of dextrose. If you purchased your bottling kit from the American Home Brewer, the dextrose is already pre-weighed, so just add the whole bag. If your dextrose came from somewhere else, here's an easy rule of thumb to remember. 5 for 5 and 2.5 for 2.5. In other words, 5 ounces of dextrose for a 5 gallon batch and 2.5 ounces of dextrose for a 2.5 gallon batch. And remember, these measurements are by weight, not by volume, so don't use a measuring cup, use a scale. Stir the water so the dextrose is fully dissolved, then set it aside so it can cool down for a little while. Now, if you're reasonably certain everything is sanitized, fish out all the tools out of your sanitizing bucket and lay them on top of some paper towels. Once there's nothing left in your sanitizing bucket, go ahead and pour out the sanitizer. Now, turn the bucket upside down and let it sit in your sink for a while. Don't wipe it with anything. Just don't put anything in it. Just let it drain in the sink. Because it's had all that sanitizer in it for all this time, your bottling bucket is pretty well sanitized. Okay, time to locate your fermentation bucket. With the bucket firmly on a chair, gently remove the airlock in one piece. You need to do this before you pry off the lid because you could tip the airlock while you're prying off the lid and have that airlock water leak into your beer, and you don't want that. So remove the airlock and get it out of the way. Now, gently, without disturbing the bucket too much, pry the lid off the bucket. It can be a pain, but keep at it. It'll come off. Use your hands to take the lid off. Don't use any screwdrivers or pliers. Once you get the lid off, get it out of the way. Now, you can place your fermentation bucket wherever is most comfortable for you. Here we have it in the sink. Just remember, it's going to have to be at a higher level than the bottling bucket to get the siphon flowing. Once you've positioned the fermentation bucket where you want it, locate your racking cane. Place the racking cane on the inside of your fermentation bucket and clip it to the side. The racking cane should extend about 2 inches or so into your beer. Next, locate the long piece of clear tubing and fit it onto the end of your racking cane. Push it up to where the racking cane begins to curve. Now position your bottling bucket under your fermentation bucket. Remember, it's got to be at a lower level than your fermentation bucket for the siphon to work. Now grab your siphon syringe and place the plunger all the way into the housing. Attach the syringe to the other end of your tubing. While holding it over your bottling bucket, use a steady, even pull and pull the plunger out of the syringe. The siphon will start. Simply set the housing down in your bottling bucket and allow your bottling bucket to fill with beer. Now you're going to need to monitor the level of your fermentation bucket and gently push the racking cane down as the level drops. If the level of beer gets below the racking cane, you're going to need to start the siphon all over again. Once you physically see sediment in your fermentation bucket, probably a good idea to stop siphoning. You don't want this sediment in your bottling bucket because you don't want it in your bottles, and that may mean you'll have to leave a little bit of beer behind, but no big deal. Once all the beer has been racked, locate your cooled priming sugar solution and gently pour it into your bottling bucket. Don't stir vigorously at this point. You don't want any oxygen in your beer. Use your stirring spoon to move the beer around gently without splashing until the dextrose is all incorporated. Okay, now take that little piece of clear tubing you cut off earlier, those 6 inches, and push it onto the spigot of your bottling bucket. With the spigot and the hose hanging over the sink, grab a bottle and slip it up over the hose. Turn on the spigot and fill the bottle all the way to the very top. When you slide the bottle back down, you'll notice now that you have the perfect amount of headspace in your bottle. That's about 3/4 of an inch from the top. Once filled, cap the bottle and continue until all your bottles are filled. Remember, you need that headspace. Never fill your bottle all the way to the very top. It could just blow open. Now, once all your bottles are filled, place them back in a case and place the case in a closet or cupboard away from any direct light sources. Although it's kind of tempting to chill a bottle and taste it right now, you really want to leave your beer alone for like 7 to 10 days. This process is called bottle conditioning, and it's important in home brewing. In 7 days, grab a bottle and tip it back and forth a few times. At the top of the neck, you should notice some bubbles, which means your beer is carbonating. If you see carbonation, leave it sit for 2 or 3 more days, then chill a bottle and give it a taste. If you taste some and you like it, then by all means it's ready to drink. Well, that concludes this video on proper bottling procedures. We hope it was helpful. The American Home Brewer website contains a plethora of information for the first-time home brewer, including a series of instructional videos to help you brew your first batch of beer. We also carry a line of malts, both dry and liquid, along with fresh hops, ingredient kits, fermentation kits, bottling kits, and many brewing supplies. Best of all, our prices are some of the lowest on the entire planet. Visit us at www.theamericanbrewer.com or www.theamericanhomebrewer.com. Thanks for watching, and happy brewing!